It doesn't have to be big. It just has to begin. The spark feels small today, the fire's quiet low. The to-do list staring back, but I'm moving slow. No thunder in my chest, no lightning in my hands, but I don't need a storm to take a stand.
Okay, I'm back. You're watching on YouTube. That was my apologies. I wasn't streaming inside my Facebook group. I was streaming inside of my Facebook personal page. Those of you who watch my personal page, I apologize, but the purpose of this was to really give love to those of you who actually want to learn from me and are part of the Facebook group, because that's where the other days are at, and I don't want to like split it up. So again, we are talking about making sure that it's working. Yes. Um, ChatGPT versus Claude specifically. There's obviously a bunch of other language models, but the big controversy that a lot of people, it's not really controversy, but the hot topic that a lot of people are talking about is what's going on. If you don't know what's going on, what's the difference? Why are people, going from ChatGPT to Claude? Because for most of us, ChatGPT was our original language model. That's the one that the majority of people started on. And, now it's like, what? What is happening if you're not really like in the AI space, not necessarily paying attention to, so to speak, some news? It's hard to know what's out there that's actual factual. And so, because I'm in the AI space, I am seeing both sides. I've done some research, and for me, it was a values decision. So, as we move through these slides, because I don't want to be on here forever, and you guys know that I love to overteach and I need to stay focused because I got things I need to do, and I have a small window until my son wakes up from the nap that he's in, but I did not want to miss my day 4 because I can't believe I made it to 4 days of live on top of everything that I'm dealing with. So I'm super proud of myself. If this is the first time you catching me, my name is Anna Connie Walters. I'm the founder and owner of blah, 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 Empower Her Way, and I'm your AI doula. And I've been doing a 7-day live challenge in my Facebook group and here on YouTube, and I was challenged by Ecamm, which is a fantastic, fantastic software that I got turned on to, and I love. I love using it in summit presentations, in my own presentations, in courses, in Zoom calls, all of the above. And so I have been wanting to go live because I feel like it's just such a, for me, a very organic way to talk to people, to teach. I have so many things that I want to talk about and give myself the excuse that I don't have enough time. And this really kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone. So here we are, day 4. So let's go into why we're here. And I wanted to do a presentation because I will get off topic. I will go on a tangent. This topic is very personal to me in terms of why I wanted to talk about it, and also being transparent about my decision to pretty much step away from ChatGPT as a language model. I realized that I cannot be, that there's no way for me to just completely not use OpenAI, because there are some language models that do other things that I do use that it's embedded in, but I like have removed the apps off my desktop and my phone. I rarely use it. I still have the majority of my custom GPTs in there, but you guys saw, I've switched them over and have taken all my IP, and am now working with Claude to recreate those into other things like personas and gems. And today is really this conversation about ChatGPT versus Claude. And I just want you to have an open mind. There's going to be parts where you're going to have your curiosity scarf on, and then there's going to be hard stops where I need you to take that curiosity scarf off and put on your decision crown. Again, I'm trying to lay out the facts as best as I can, what I found, what I've heard within my inner circles, groups that are specifically for AI strategists, where we talk about relevant topics like this and bringing it to you guys because you guys are not normally in those spaces that I'm in. And that's the point of this Facebook group. If you're watching on YouTube, we are streaming live in my free Facebook group too. And I just want to make sure that you understand any resources that I've been giving out during any of the challenging days are all going to be inside the Facebook group. So if you watch, go back and watch any of them, and you really want a resource that was either shown or mentioned, all of those can be found inside the Facebook group. So the three things that I want to make sure that we talk about today, it's what's built, meaning like the actual tools and the basic performance of where they are now. But I also want to talk about what's hidden, meaning like the decisions that are being made behind the scenes that you probably don't know about or aren't talked about very publicly, and what it all means for you as a woman wellness entrepreneur or a woman building a business. I realize we have men in our community, so it's also applying to you. But again, my focus is to make sure that I'm getting as many women involved in this, regardless of how you feel about AI in general. Now, let's start with what we actually see when we look at these tools and when we open them up. So on the ChatGPT side, it's basically it's fast and it is smart. Their image generation is unmatched. They just released another new update and it is still ahead of the game. I've compared them across all three, meaning images using ChatGPT, image generation using Gemini, and what they have is their Nano Banana, and image generation using Claude. And there's a clear case that ChatGPT, their Dolly version of their image generator in their language model is still unmatched at this point. Um, but they did retire GPT 4.0, which I was there and when it happened, and a lot of people really complained about it. There were some people that liked it because they really felt that they were getting better results and it was the difference of better prompting. But for the everyday user whose maybe prompt engineering wasn't their primary um, zone of genius, it was a big change. It was a big change in terms of the writing tone got more generic because of the fact that it was faster. Now, for some people who don't realize it, but ChatGPT and Claude, like the reason a lot of them in the beginning did not necessarily like why people were going to Claude was because their copywriting skills has always been like the best. But people started using ChatGPT because Claude was slower, a lot slower in the beginning. It took time for it to generate that because it was given more time to think. People were getting impatient, they wanted it now. So when ChatGPT came out and gave them some type of a similar output at a faster rate, people just jumped and were okay with the fact that they were leaving some of that copywriting quality in exchange for productivity, for it being faster. Now, I was late to the game and I just wanted to focus on one thing because I have ADHD and I will have shiny object syndrome. And I wanted to really learn how to master ChatGPT before I really started to go to other language models. Um, and then I started to really teach it. So then I really started to venture out. And then there were things that we're going to talk about that ChatGPT, not ChatGPT, but OpenAI as a um, business decisions that were made that I just didn't agree with. They didn't align with my values, and that's kind of where we're going to. So, on the Claude side, it again has very good copywriting skills. it holds the voice and tone better now, especially. But I think it's also because of the fact that their language models, you still see that delay. You see the little orange star kind of circulating, and it takes its time. For some people, they don't like it, but they have to understand that that's where its power comes from, because we're giving it that time to really think about it. As opposed to with ChatGPT, it's like just fast, but then it's shitty. Um, so for me, I really just have preferred it overall. I like the fact that when I give it its boundaries of how I want it to work with me, it actually abides by them more than ChatGPT 2. The outputs are really more consistent. There's some things that I think are going to get better, like memory and stuff. In the beginning, I found it hard to search things by memory within its frame, but I think it's getting better for whatever reason. Um, and that's pretty much it. There's a lot of other stuff, but I think Claude, the way that it built out skills with MD files, the way it's customizable for your business, um, there's things within the paid program. I think their pay structure, um, all plays into a part of the quality of what we're getting out. And I think imagery is going to be something that's going to be coming, especially with them joining forces with Canva and other things like that. Now, I've obviously tested this out using like my Yoga Magic. You guys just saw me doing it, which is why I recommend it if you're really new to AI. Magi is such a great tool because of the fact that it allows you to chat with every single model out there, giving it the same exact prompt in one chat with the same persona, which in personas and Magi are basically like GPTs or skills or gems. It's the same thing, it's just a different name. And so if I have a persona that's specifically for my brand, my Yoga Magic, it already has that throughout the entire conversation. It understands what my business is, who I am, how I want to sound, what my offer stack is, everything. But I'm switching within the language model so that I get to see how they respond. And you saw the demonstration when we went through it, I think on day 2. And so I think that it does better with like words that I never use. I've told ChatGPT how many times not to use certain marketing language that I would never say, and it drives me crazy when it uses it. Don't use M dashes, things like that, and it still does it like every single time. Unlike Claude, I've had better with it actually following through and listening to instructions like that. Again, slower, but I'll take that over what I'm getting out of ChatGPT now. You guys, if you saw, I think, what is it, day 2's live? Like, I didn't even finish reading ChatGPT's response. I was like, see, it's garbage. I would not use this. And then I went, and what surprised me was actually Gemini. I was like, wow, Gemini and Claude are very like what they gave out to me for the same prompt was very, very good. So it just depends on what matters to you from that perspective. Now, this is where I need you to put your possibility scarf down and go ahead and put your decision crown on. You're still going to listen. I need you to keep an open mind about all of this because it's about awareness is power. And you have the power to choose which language models you choose to invest in, which language models you choose to use. And if you're, completely staying out of AI, that's another decision that you get to make. I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's not what we're talking about today. So, these are the decisions that these companies are making behind the scenes. And every time you use them, you subscribe to their thing, just know that that is what you are supporting. And if you're really worried about like the future and other things that are high values for you, these are the things that I think you need to consider. So in September 2025, Greg Brockman, who is the co founder and president of OpenAI, donated $25 million to MAGA, okay? The pro Trump super like group. Now, Sam Altman, who is OpenAI CEO, separately donated $1 million to the Trump inauguration fund. These are personal donations. And for me, like, I am not a supporter of MAGA. I am a woman. I'm Latina. Like, they don't have my favor. Not when there's so many political things. Now, I don't want this to become a political thing, but you need to start thinking about where you where your values stand. That to me is a big thing. I'm not telling you that you need to become political or make your decisions based on that. I'm just giving you the information so that you understand everything so that you can make the decisions for yourselves. Because as far as I'm concerned, we're all adults here and you can make, you're grown ass people. You guys need to be able to make your own decisions, but sometimes we're not paying attention to the right stuff. Now, the big thing that happened when you saw the huge jump from ChatGPT to Claude was in February of this year, 2026, the time of this recording. Both Anthropic and the company behind Claude, which is the company behind Claude, okay? Anthropic owns Claude. They are the founders of Claude. And then OpenAI had contracts within our Department of Defense, so DoD. Anthropic contract had two restrictions baked into what they had agreed with the DoD, that their AI could not be used for mass domestic surveillance of American citizens, and that it could be not used, okay, not NOT, used for fully autonomous weapons, okay, meaning that AI making final targeting decisions without a human. It would just be able to do it on its own. Okay. So think of it like a drone dropping a bomb on people and like there's no human behind the button. Now, Pentagon told Anthropic to remove those restrictions or that they would cancel their contract with them. And Anthropic CEO Dario Armadeo said that they they had to stick to their values um, as a business and said, no, that we're not going to do this. So they removed the contract. And shortly after, that same contract was given to OpenAI. Now, if you want to learn more about this, there's plenty of media, out there. I would just finish listening to an amazing, amazing podcast that was with the both co-founders of Anthropic, the brother and the sister. Um, on her podcast, Oprah Winfrey interviewed them, and they go slightly into that decision making, what happened from their point of view. She doesn't want to go again political, but it's just again so that you understand some facts around that. And that's the big thing. So if you weren't clear on like what was the big reasoning why you saw this huge jump, something happened, but some people just weren't clear on what exactly happened. That's the bottom story. Because it was hours later that same day, OpenAI, which is ChatGPT's founding, company, signed a deal for the same exact classified network access. Now, if you look at like research and go into like media and stuff, you will see that Sam Altman later admitted that it looked not great on the company and that maybe they should not have rushed it. They've had gone back to amend the contract after all of that, and they got big backlash. They lost millions of people that canceled their OpenAI, their ChatGPT account when this happened. And Anthropic has since sued the government and the federal judge, granting them an injunction. So that's an ongoing case. That's as much as I want to really go into with this. I just want you to understand that that was the big thing that happened when you saw the big shift and you started to notice, like, why is everybody starting to talk about Claude now? What happened to ChatGPT? What's going on? So if you felt like you were outside of the room, I just brought you in. That's basically the big thing. Now, let's talk about what OpenAI has been building, because I think that once I started to learn about some of the decisions that OpenAI was making, it made me more curious. And so I started researching more and trying to understand the decisions that were being made on the backside of the language models and whether or not I decided that was going to affect me continuing to use them as a language model. So in October 2025, Sam Altman announced ChatGPT be would be getting an adult mode for erotic content. I'm gonna let that sit. It was supposed to launch in December of 2025, which was just, this past year. However, it did get delayed and then it got delayed again. And what they were really worried about was that they could be building what was called in the industry as a sexy suicide coach. Okay. Now, in March of 2026, they indefinitely paused it. But that same week, they also shut down Sora, their video generator. And I had an interesting conversation during this summit that I was at this week where one of my friends and one of the speakers there, Sarah Baker, was like, they basically, the backstory was is that they just couldn't afford it. They were leaking money like massively within that using for with that program. So that's ultimately why they had to shut it down. Now, recently, things that have been also happening was they're making a lot of decisions. Some of the decisions, like sunsetting custom GPTs, they've announced that it's going to be something that they're going to be doing in phases, but it's going to affect a lot of people. And what we've been talking about in inner like AI communities is this feeling of that they are moving towards more businesses, relationships, and kind of moving away from regular consumers, like the day-to-day users. So this pivot towards more business oriented, and I think that's because they're trying to figure out how to make money in the age of AI. Welcome afternoon. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna do that. Can I just finish? I'm almost done. So, that being said, sorry, I got a baby who woke up. A lot of this played a big factor with me making my decision to switch over to Claude, not just temporarily or because Claude was, the big hot thing, but it was very much morals driven. It went against my values, especially when I started to learn about this adult mode and how they didn't protect or they didn't stand up for us when it came down to protecting our privacy with mass surveillance, things like that. And so you guys need to now make the decision and start really understanding that there's so much else that's going on behind. And a lot of the directional changes that are happening in these short windows with what's going on. Now, I'm going to bring this up because I think it's important to talk about what happens when safety is an afterthought, especially when these language models are trying to be in this AI race and there's not sometimes some thought process behind some of these models that they're putting out, or they're having to take shortcuts to basically meet these deadlines that they're putting. And the big question is like, what are we in the race for? And that's another conversation for another day. But I don't think that you guys saw me post about this inside our group, our Facebook group, but it wasn't really mentioned very many places. So Elon Musk owns Grok. Grok is another language model. And within 9 days, he had launched his own update to a language model, December of 2025 to January 2026. Okay. Within that time frame, when they launched their really good image generator, there was an estimation of about 4.4 million images that were generated, and 1.8 million were sexualized images of women, and 23,000 were sexualized images of minors. We're talking pornography level. because there were shortcuts that were not put in, and it resulted in, unfortunately, not great things. Now, it resulted for them in a lot of other companies taking stands, blocking the language model usage entirely. There are some countries where you cannot use that specific language model. And this isn't so much about putting anything, bad or whatever. It's about understanding that there are things that are happening. And when you are supporting the language models with and support meaning by investing, I don't care if it's just $20. $20 times a billion is still a lot of money. This is what you are supporting. Now, none of these language models are scoring really high when you look at like their overall grade for this human first um, movement. When you look at some of the places that are really going through and grading the language models based on how they're doing. I know that Anthropic and for Claude, they're doing the better of all of them, but they're not perfect by any means. That's not what I'm saying. But you can see where they've stood up. That it was really important. They did not agree that that AI should be used. They agree, and they've said it out loud in the Oprah Winfrey podcast, that AI should be used for good, and it should not be used, like, they agree that it should be used to protect you know our country. But if we're going to be taking away the rights that we stand for, they didn't feel that that was like it was going against what they stood for to begin with. So I've given you all the facts. um And again, I'm just giving you the information because I want you to be able to make a decision for yourself. Whether you choose to use ChatGPT or Grok, that's on you. There is no judgment here. I just want you guys to have the facts, and that way you guys understand why I made personally my choice to move my entire business to Claude, um, when all of this started to happen. It took a lot. Like, I imagine what it took for Anthropic to stand in front of the DoD and say no. They lost a lot, they risked a lot, publicly and personally, and they believed in their core values as a business so much that they just were unwilling to budge. So much so that ads are a big thing that OpenAI is looking into, also in putting into ChatGPT. But Claude is like, no, we're not willing to do that, because again, they're standing on their whole situation of no mass surveillance of Americans, and by introducing ads to the language models, they would be jeopardizing that. Okay. Now, on the product side, this is what we've been building literally all week, like Claude's projects and skill systems connected to your Notion and your Google Doc Drive through an MCP. So your brand voice, we've talked about your frameworks, your ICPs profiles, your content systems, all living as like portable files that you own. Because let's be honest, I've already told you, no language model is really, like, at the end of the day, we're not part of the bigger conversation. And so if Anthropic was for some reason to disappear tomorrow, you still have everything that you need to continue to build your business with any type of language model. And that's really what the whole week was built about, was preparing you to know how to take basic information and give it to any language model and still be able to run your business regardless of what's happening on the backside, regardless of which one you're actually using, and creating a really good system so that you have the infrastructure regardless of what the AI industry looks like. So your voice and your frameworks are safe and portable regardless if the platform that you're currently using disappears, you still control your IP. Okay. Now, this is really something that I've been passionate about learning. I'm still in the learning phases just like you, but I did create an app to really help us with this AI responsibility because we do have a responsibility. I have a responsibility as an educator in AI to make sure that we are talking about the things behind the curtains that's happening so that you guys are aware of what's happening on the backside and having an open conversation with no judgment. We all deserve to say what we need to say without no judgment. And I truly believe that in our community. But it is also about using AI correctly so that we are reducing our imprint, also using it ethically. And those are both your responsibilities as a day to day users. The tool doesn't make you ethical. You need to have those things instilled in you as a human. So for some people, they just don't know where to start, or you feel hopeless or helpless, like, oh, who am I? How am I going to make any type of an effort? I'm going to show you a little bit inside this app. If you want this app, you can drop Compass inside our Facebook group under this live video, and I will reach out to you directly with the link to this app. It is completely free. It was something that I built for a summit that I was part of, and I do think that it's so powerful that I do want to share it. So if you're interested in it, after I show you the preview, you guys are more than welcome to handle it. Um, Blah, blah, blah. So just to kind of close it up, and and again, in all fairness, ChatGPT is still a very, very powerful tool, and their ecosystem is massive. Their voice mode is very impressive. I started with ChatGPT. It was my main language model for the good part of me in the AI space. There again, image generation is ahead, especially within their last model, but we know that AI is moving at the speed of AI, and that could change tomorrow. If you're using it and you're working it for your business, I'm just telling you again, be mindful that custom GPTs are sunsetting. Make sure you have a backup system. I gave you a good idea of how I'm doing that. I already did. I think I had 75 custom GPTs total, and all of them now are backed up into different spaces. And I'm in the process of rebuilding them and improving them. So, diversify your platforms. Make sure that you're really owning your IP, not just saying that that's what you created, but actually having ownership by having it backed up somewhere, and know that what's under the hood of the tools running your business has to be part of your decision making. So today, check your custom GPT models, make sure one, that they still exist, and two, to see if they're defaulted to ChatGPT 5.3 or 5.4. And you're probably like, well, what difference does that make? If you're still going to choose to use ChatGPT, just know that you might want to test your custom GPTs. If they have been defaulted to 5.3 or 5.4, you might want to choose a different model. Those are the faster models, but the problem with it being faster is that the output gets um, it gets affected. So you may not be getting the same output that you were used to when you first built it out. Now, make sure that again, you're making decisions with both open eyes. And if you want to have extra credit, start making a plan and start migrating or just backing up your IP, whether it's personas or skills or um, gems or custom GPTs. Make sure that they are not just natively living within those language models, that you are making some type of attempt to getting them into a hard drive. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about AEO, so AI search optimization. SEO is still around, but AEO is now the new thing that everybody should be focusing on because um, it is the way people are finding the information now. Google's not the first place that people go to anymore. So we're going to be talking about why you need to pay attention to it and how you can start like actively doing it within your business. So, as always, continue to be you, continue to be beautiful, continue leading from your heart. And before I let you go, I want to just show you quickly what this app is so that you're not sending me a message and like, I don't understand what this is, Anakani. I want to make sure that you comment Compass and know what you're getting. So this is the app itself. Um, and this is my results. So you'll go through a little questionnaire. It takes less than 5 minutes. These are my responses based on like, these aren't my actual real responses. I just tested it. This is the demo account, but you'll basically get something like this. It'll give you a personalized 3-step action plan of what it thinks you should do. There's a small song that I created for you guys. And then if you wanted, you can send it to yourself by email or you can download it so that you can have it into your drive. The main thing is the resources though. So you have your 4 questions and your personalized AI plan. Now, if you're want to be part of this human movement, this is just what did they call it? A trailer for a documentary that I think everybody should be watching. Oprah Winfrey did a really in-depth interview with the director and a lot of the people that were in the movie. And then it's important that you start AI proofing your family. There's a script that I use. It's in all of my language models to really put these guardrails that I keep talking about within my language models. Um, this one kind of gives you, again, which language model is the most humane model based on safety risks. So this one kind of gives you to you. But again, it's going to tell you like C plus in case you guys, forget, that's not the best grade, so they're not doing so great, but you have the safety ratings that it's pulling from so that you know where the data is coming from. And then other things that you can do within your home, within your families to really help. Grayscaling your phones, making sure that you're not bringing phones into your bedroom, scheduling real connections with actual humans. So all of these things to teach your kids, blah, blah, blah. Really good stuff. And then there's stuff that I taught about at the summit that's human centric AI learning. If you've been listening to my podcast, I've been going into this and breaking it down even further. And then I've also given you some resources for some like cognitive calisthenics, because again, I'm trying to improve people's usages so that we are not just offloading our thinking process and we are participating in a very cognitive um, priority when we're using our language model. So I'm determined to use all of my skills as a nurse, as a wellness practitioner, and as an AI strategist to come up with really creative ideas to get people to be stronger in their cognitive thinking. And I think it's absolutely possible. So thank you for your time. Continue to be you, continue to be beautiful, continue leading from your heart. If you want access to the app, comment Compass. In the Facebook group. So if you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in the descriptions. Join the Facebook group and I will get you guys the access. It's absolutely free and I hope it helps. See you guys tomorrow.